Today is Friday.
Woo!
And I'm very excited. I love Fridays.
I'm excited too.
Yes, you love Fridays. Why?
Because it's the weekend. It's the weekend tomorrow.
And then you get to have gathering.
I get to meet everybody.
Yeah, I was much more shallow. I like Fridays because all my favorite TV shows drop on Fridays. Grey's Anatomy.
Oh.
Yeah, but then one that I'm watching on Apple TV that I'm quite excited about, which I'll tell you about in a while. Because it made me ask this question recently. If you could travel anywhere, right? Will you travel to the future or will you travel to the past?
If it's to just have a glance, right? It will be the future. Because I already know the past, or if I don't know the past, I can just read it up in a history book. So I want to see what future is like.
But you know how they always ask those questions, you know, like those never have I ever questions, right? Those quiz questions. They always ask you like if you could have a lunch date with like
Anybody?
one person in history. It's always one person in history. You know? Yeah, but I get it, but I kind of always want to go to the future.
Oh.
To see what it's like, what inventions are like, whether humanity has changed, whether we've apocalypsed the whole world, or we've become more empathetic. Yeah.
So basically, if you were given a choice to live in the future, live in the past, you would?
I live in the future.
Live in the future.
Yeah, because oh my god, like have you ever thought about this, right? Living in the past, no toilet, no, like all the amenities that we now have.
You see what if the future is worse than the past?
Oh, then there's a whole other story.
Okay, we don't know that. We don't know.
I want like comfortable living. Or at least hygienic, like sanitation. Oh my god, I need sanitation. Like, because people always go like, I want to travel to the medieval ages, right? Yeah, like, I want to see stuff, lah. But can you imagine no toilet?
Yeah, I don't think I would want to do.
Yeah. No. Plus, if you were to travel to my past as well, if you cannot change anything, you just watch yourself make mistakes all over again. I wouldn't want to go.
I wouldn't too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, right, why I ask this question is because I'm watching this sci-fi show called Foundation on Apple TV. And it's quite fascinating because, okay, one of the premise of the show is that there's this scientist and his apprentice, and they're using math to figure out, right, the end of human civilization and the rebirth of human civilization. So the whole plot is about them having calculated using a formula that humanity in the universe is going to go into the dark ages. Like there's going to be war and then they'll devolve into the dark ages. And in order to help humanity cycle out of the dark ages faster, they want to preserve all of human history and knowledge and science. Yeah, so it's really, that part is quite fascinating. But the other very fascinating thing in the story is about this emperor of the universe. So what has happened during that time is it's huge advancements in science and all that because this particular emperor decided to clone himself. So at any given time, right, there is 3 of him in existence. And then they call themselves Dawn, Day, and Dusk. So Dawn is the youngest of the clones, and then Day is the current ruler, the primary ruler, and then Dusk is the guy that ruled, and then now is the older guy. He's about to pass away, and then he provides advice to the current ruler.
Yeah.
So the whole idea, right, is this guy decided to do this in order to keep peace and consistency in the universe. But then what the story goes on to show you is that every ruler and their decisions at any given time starts to affect the next ruler and who they become as a human being. So it's not consistent. And it's actually probably, if you watch the storyline, it's what leads to the downfall of civilization.
What?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, I'm so
because
curious.
of trying to keep consistency.
Oh.
Yeah.
Irony.
Yes. I don't know how I feel about human cloning.
I don't know. I mean, I would expect that they will learn from their pre-descendants and then,
Yeah, but some don't learn. They start to live in the shadow of the predecessor and react. Yeah, it's kind of like bad parent or live in the shadow of having to react to the previous ruler's bad decisions. Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay, anyway, I don't know how I feel about human cloning, but go watch that.
Yes,
it's
I
fun.
will.
I'm trying to make her go and watch it because she doesn't watch TV shows.
Yes, I will.
So that we can talk about it. Yeah, but anyway, so today, right, we're going to be talking about how to train a preacher.
Woo, yeah.
And it's based, and we decided on this title because we were cycling through a lot of titles. Anatomy of preaching, of a message, blah, blah, blah. And we landed on this because one of your favorite movies is
How to Train a Dragon.
Yes, why do you like that movie?
Very cute movie. The dragon is very cute, first and foremost. But the plot is very interesting, which is about this guy who is a misfit in his village.
Yeah.
And then how he met this dragon who also apparently is a misfit in his his
world,
his tribe. Yeah. So they met, they became best friends, and then together they united the dragon world and the human world. And they fought off the bad guys. Yeah.
This is your transcendence piece from the last episode. Yeah, but it is a great metaphor because really actually training preachers and leaders is about helping someone find how they misfit and helping them to bring themselves to people while they're on the platform or in leadership position.
Yeah, true.
So we're talking about this. Why? Because recently
we've been having a whole series. Our whole team went up to preach in TiVo. I think 2-3 rounds already of their message. 3 rounds
for
the whole
already,
year.
Yeah.
So it's been really great because I was a part of helping to edit.
She was not a part of, she was the whole part of helping to edit and train preachers this year.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun and exciting, but also a little nervous.
Yeah, so we thought we'd talk about that today,
Yeah.
right? Because she's been doing the bulk of it, giving me a break to breathe a little bit because I've spent my whole life preaching. Yeah, but it's been good. So we thought we'd talk about what it's like to be a communicator, preparing messages. And then the second half, we'll talk about what it's like to train preachers and communicators.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to start things off is, Pastor, how do you typically prepare a message?
Well, I think generally my week looks pretty standard. It varies quite a bit, but it's probably about 2 days on and off of preparation, actual like prep, but not a whole lot. Last time when I first started, I think it was like 2 whole days and a whole night when it came to preparing a message. But now it's definitely less. It helps if it's a topic that I've already accumulated learning about. But if it's not and I have to do more research, then definitely those 2 days I'm pretty like stuck at a computer researching, reading and pulling out material . So it really depends on the message. Yeah. But the service source is highly involved. How I should. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, sometimes it's like, usually nowadays it's like I will finish around 2 a.m. I'll send them a draft. But last week the Being of Happiness one was for some reason was pretty tough. I thought it would be quick because I had outline. And then after I had trouble figuring out how to fit the dopamine analogy into the whole thing. So I think I couldn't go to sleep, and then I kept preparing until about 4 a.m. and then I sent like 2.5 points. And then I told them I'll send you the rest like at 7 or 8 a.m. And then it was really down to wire. I was like out in my office and still prepping like the altar call. I was still writing the altar call while they were having praise and worship. And then I rushed down to preach the message.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's very rare. That was just this weekend. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, pretty different, Pastor. Actually, I think for me, I needed to accumulate a lot of ideas and have plenty of time to incubate, sit on it, imagine things through before I can actually sit down to draft the thing up.
Yeah, because guys, we're very different preachers in terms of style. I think like Karis loves to have a
thought and then trace that thought through the stories. And
and then it builds and builds
with a conclusion.
And comes to a conclusion and a feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more of a structured. I think even my most like that sermons are quite structured, right? Generally.
Yes.
Like there's an outline, a skeleton, one thought, next thought. Yeah.
But basically, I feel like for when I see you edit messages or when I see you prepare, I always feel very fascinating that like you can always kind of link all the even things that you preached earlier on, like maybe years ago, a certain idea or a certain message, and then you will tie in with something that you spoke to you.
Or like there's a bill, like from one message to the next.
Yes.
Oh, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
But don't you think that is just a function of because I'm the lead pastor?
Maybe.
Because I have to lead people not through one sermon. I have to lead them through the year.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that PC, you edit messages even faster than you write a message.
Yeah lah, of course lah. Everybody edits someone's message faster than they write a message. No?
I edit message really long also.
But I think you take longer to write a sermon.
Oh, yeah,
because
definitely.
I think when you're editing someone else's message, your objective is not so personal, number one. And they've given you pieces to piece together. Even if it's like a mess, it's still pieces. Whereas when you're doing it, you have to find all the pieces and then you have to personally figure out what is it that you want to say versus helping someone figure out. So I feel like there's a lot of like degrees of removal. So that part is easier. Yeah, but I get why you're struggling because this whole year you've been the one training the preacher. So it's a little bit like yeah, understand.
Yes. So PC, what's the hardest message you've prepped so far?
Yeah, we both agree lah. It's always Christmas lah.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't think that one has to do with the message it's hard. I think it's got to do with the pressure we put ourselves in, like the expectations we have about trying to like hold all the new friends down in the room, because it's a really big jump for us. Christmas, right, guys? Usually our attendance actually more than doubles, it triples. Maybe even more than that sometimes, right? We got 3 services.
Yeah, true.
We will have like 200, 300 friends, new people, non-overlap. That means they're all new people. So I'm trying very hard to hold all of them, and I've put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that God feels real and relevant to them, and church is that I want to overturn all their preconceived notions about what they have about Christianity lah. So I put a lot of my pressure on myself in that way. Yeah, so I think that's where, so I have a lot of anxiety during Christmas. A lot. Yeah. Plus then it's the back-to-back thing, because usually I preach at least 2 services. Last time 3, huh?
Yeah, last time it's 3.
Yeah, but now because the leaders take one of the services, but there's always there's not a lot of running time between messages. So I'll be prepping one, and then I have to get that out and then do the next one and the next one. So it's a very tight thing. So I find it very, very tiring. Yeah.
Christmas, big days.
Yes. What about you?
I think for me, every message is hard. That could be just me lah. It's just me, which is I don't know. Every message is unique and different, and so I also have to take a lot of time to kind of string all the thoughts out. So I guess that's the most tricky part for me. Yeah.
But so I ask you a question. If I were to put you in a situation like I was years ago, right, where I have no choice, the luxury of now being able to just preach once in a while, right, allows me to preach richer sermons, because I get to really research and sit on things and think about what I want to say. But previously, I think for the first 10 years of church, it was just every weekend is me. So I have to just churn and churn and churn and churn. So if I were to put you in that same situation, would you have the luxury of fritzing and being anxious?
No, I think.
Oh, maybe next year. This is what we'll do. We'll just put all the preachers back to back.
Because you just have to do it. I guess. Yeah. But please, over time you'll get better, right? Because it builds, like what we say.
Wow. I think it's 2 different things. Like when you're a new preacher, I feel because you don't have a lot of experience and you are in the middle of learning content.
Yes.
So it becomes every message is a research essay.
Correct.
Really, literally every week. But now for me as a more seasoned preacher and more experience under my belt and a general rhythm of learning, right? I like to read in general. It's way easier to pull content, because I have time to write down ideas this is a great idea. I think I want to preach about this. And then when my preaching slot comes, I go, okay, does this resonate with the church? Okay, it works. Then I will fit it into that slot. So it's a very different prep to writing, to delivery kind of process. Yeah.
But ideally, it's as a leader, it's very important to kind of keep learning and always have this.
Yeah, I think that's fundamental.
Yeah.
If you're not a learner, right, you cannot be a leader or a communicator, because you have the only thing you have to offer people is the content of your character and the content of your experience and your learning. So if you have nothing in there, you become like that irritating student at school that likes to smoke and talk rubbish in class, but obviously hasn't done
No
the prep
depth.
work and is wasting everybody's time. I mean, they could be very funny, they could be very
entertaining,
but at the end of the day, you came back with a good laugh, and that was all, or nothing really transformative happened in your life. Yeah. Now, that's not to say being funny is not important. Sometimes it's important to preach a simple message that just conveys a certain feeling.
True.
I think that's very important. But if you're shallow all the time because you're not a learner, then you cannot be a leader. Yeah.
Oh, PC, you were saying that Christmas and big days are harder to preach, but PC, you were also saying that curriculum is challenging also.
Curriculum is challenging for me two reasons. One is I'm okay. Let me caveat. I'm good at preparing curriculum because I know how to structure things in such a way that people can learn. But the getting it there is tiring because I'm very perfectionist about it. I want to give a good draft. Yeah, and then I think, especially recently the ministry training class was really hard to do. I think because that one has to do with culture, so it's very personal. I'm trying to think of how to bring those things across. Language it, and really nail it, and then tell story. Well, telling stories part was also a little bit hard. Not the writing other people's stories in, but telling my own story of how church began was very challenging. I told she knows that because she was helping to vet the drafts, right? And then I'm like fritzing the day before, like, guys, what do you think? Should I put this in? Should I put that in? I think I created 4 stupid drafts and before I finally landed on that one, I gave up halfway. Yeah, because I think that one had to do with me telling my own stories. I think I just don't like to talk about myself too much. I think it's important. Let me stress that I think it's important for a leader to be able to tell their story and be vulnerable so that people can see you and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I'm not generally a like to talk about myself too much person. And then delivery is okay lah, but having to think about putting it in is the part where I'm like, yeah.
Is it the self-praise part or is it the being vulnerable part?
I think it's the anticipation of being vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
But when I'm delivering, actually, I think I'm okay with talking vulnerable things. But the thinking of putting it is like,
okay.
And like, am I talking too much, too little? Am I like aggrandizing? Yeah, and then there's also the part, I think, for me, I don't want to manipulate people with stories. I want to inspire, I want to challenge, but I don't want them to feel like I'm manipulating them to flow with the vision of this church. So I find that very, very tricky.
Right.
Yeah, and then the other part of curriculum is once I churn it out, right, I don't want to touch it already. I get bored.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't, right?
No, yeah. No,
Why?
Like, I like follow-up.
Yeah, you like taking follow-up. There's nothing worse in the world for me.
I think for a period of time, I took most of the follow-ups in our zone.
She holds the record in church, guys. There's one time, I think one day you did 9 follow-ups in
really?
one day. Yes, I counted.
That.
I remember posting about it on Instagram or Twitter or something, and then I remember like Charleston, one of like my mentors from elsewhere mentioned, wow, like Karis did 9 follow-ups in one day. Wow.
Oh, yeah, I think I can really do that.
And
I can memorize all the verses. The memory verse.
But you said every round is different, right?
Yes, it's true. Like every time I do a follow-up lesson, it builds. For me personally. I don't know for the new integration whether they have any insights from the message. But for me, when I preach, I will, wow, I learned something new also for myself.
Yeah, I don't get that feeling. I mean, I feel thrilled if I see the person's life impacted and I manage to cater the thing to it. But it doesn't thrill me and energize me. It's not enough. I need fresh, like really big fresh insight. Then I feel a bit more excited. But curriculum is so dreary for me to take.
Yes.
I don't like teaching ministry training. I don't like teaching church intro class. Unless this week I did church intro class and I was like, I felt very like energized. And then Raymond, I said I don't know why. Then Raymond said, Pastor, I know why. Because you say everything you want to say, you got it off your chest. Like, yeah, it's true. I think if I'm discipling culture and mentoring people's heart, then I feel like, yes, I feel good. But follow-up, you cannot do that. Follow-up is like a new Christian. You cannot like be too
too aggressive.
Yeah, too aggressive.
Too confrontational.
Yes.
But I think PC for the youth
Yeah.
can like the lesson on culture.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, lah. Can if you say so. Gen Z can?
Gen Z.
Were you offended when we took your follow-up class? Today we've got Vivian in the booth.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, she's helping Raymond take over stuff today. So we're gonna get her to talk in the next
Say
episode.
hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So moving on is PC. I'm curious, which is your favorite message? Oh, I can start. So faster, my favorite. I would say a lot of them are my favorite messages, but a few would be one is a message on indifference.
Oh, you talking about
Yes.
your favorite message? I was like, huh? Your favorite message? Okay,
No.
can.
So I PC preached about indifference last year Christmas, which is talking about not apathy about life.
It's
but
not apathy. Yeah.
Yes, it's not apathy and not caring about people and all that, but it's about disassociating yourself with chasing after the next thing and the wealth and everything else.
And
in the world.
anxiety.
And anxiety, yes.
Comparison.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting.
I find it very interesting that that's your favorite sermon because it didn't strike me at that point where I appreciate that it was people's favorite sermon. I thought like I missed the mark with that one.
Really? A lot of
That
people tell
it
me
was
it
like
spoke to them.
okay, like I felt like it spoke to me, but it didn't look like it spoke to the people.
Wow, it spoke to me. It was what I needed to hear. So
Okay, can
yes.
you
And
say
another
so?
one is the good neighbor. I think that one is a lot of people's favorite message too.
But that's actually MLK's message. Like
Yes.
literally almost 80% of it is Martin Luther King Jr.'s.
Yeah, it's about being a good neighbor and loving people.
And being altruistic.
Yes.
Yes, which I'll be re-preaching next year.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Another one is all the Thanksgiving messages. So what happened is every year at the end of the year, right, the last service or the last gathering we have, Pastor will always consolidate all the things that she has learned
For rep
personally
service.
for rep service, and then she will share with the whole like community.
Like life and leadership lessons.
Yes.
But I was telling you, right, I'm very mixed about that one because you see, rep service is like a few days after Christmas. So I'm coming off the rush of 2-3 sermons
True,
weekend. And then within a few days, I have to consolidate all my lessons from
And to start reflecting
the
from
whole
beginning of the
year and like this is what I learned about life and leadership. And then so every single year I come off the pulpit and I go, is this really what I learned? Or is it just 50% what I learned? Because there wasn't time to really like consolidate. Yeah, and then after that, a few days later, I have to preach first service of the year.
Yes.
Everybody is expecting what is the vision
thing
and
for
the
this
trajectory.
year?
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's very mixed. That whole period is a rush. I told you every year I cannot wait to get off to leaders holiday after that month. Yeah, so but okay lah, I don't really miss the mark too far lah. But it's still very tight. So yes, I'm glad you enjoy that. I shall try to enjoy it more this year.
Yes. So PC, what's your favorite? Personal favorite?
My favorite recently is productive justice and the last equality and feminism
yeah.
one. Yeah. I think productive justice, I liked it because it was the accumulation of the last couple of years of learning and reading and researching and reflecting on social justice.
Yeah.
And I felt proud of it because I felt like I came to a solid point of view about what are the values surrounding how we do justice here at the Evolution.
Yeah.
Which is basically not to lean into unnecessary social media rage and to actually create more empathy and forgiveness and figure out how to move the needle forward versus talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was quite proud of that message. Then the last feminism is a slightly egotistical thing. Like, I was kind of happy that I ruffled some feathers. Like, we made people in the public unhappy that I said, like, I guess what was the two things I said? One is like, you cannot covet another human being
Yes.
sexually or commodify them, use them. So it's
Yes.
not just sex, it's just in general. Yeah, and then I think the second thing I think is the one that ruffled the most feathers, which is that I believe in human women in leadership.
Oh, still.
Yeah, we got our first like thumbs down on YouTube over that, and then we got trolled like on social media over that. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I cannot understand why. So I don't know, are we living in some like the dark ages.
Yeah, it's 2021.
Yeah, guys, I get trolled for being a female leader. I'm like, oh my god, like get with the program, yo. Yeah, but so I feel a little bit of pride of ruffling feathers. But again, that one, I think I was proud of it because I managed to tie theology, research, science, and bring it all together in a way that I think people could follow. Yeah, because I got a lot of good feedback on that sermon, both from the girls and from the guys.
Yes.
Like the girls were excited, the guys were like, this, I think gave them a vision of how to be good men that wasn't unattainable. Yeah, so I think that made me very happy because of the new people that came up to me and said, like, Pastor, this really helped me. I was like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to raise up good men in the evolution. Whatever you identify, we're going to raise up a good you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so where are we now?
PC, so that since we are talking about feminism, I wanted to ask,
yes,
PC, do you feel that, I don't know, okay, how should I frame this question? Which is, is that there's a major difference, right, between a female preacher and a guy preacher?
Oh, you really want to go into this? Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
That challenges is different.
What, like you gonna talk about our PMS that we talked about last week?
We can talk about that.
You go listen to the intro in the other episode, then you'll hear about the challenges, the physical challenges of being a female preacher. It's a weird thing to straddle though. Because like it or not, I think we exist in a patriarchal society.
Still.
Yes, whether or not you deliberately discriminate, I think all of us, the same thing, I think all of us have some degree of racism in us. And I think all of us have some degree of patriarchy.
And the reason for that is it can't be helped because we are product of
we're a product of the systems that are around us, the culture that we've brought up in. So definitely girls will forever struggle with imposter syndrome a little bit more. With speaking. Even though in our church, like it's almost a double-edged sword, right? All the girls still struggle with imposter syndrome, but they also rise up faster as preachers because they see me preaching on the stage all the time. And then the guys have the flip problem.
The challenge is different.
The challenge is they don't see a guy preacher sometimes. So they're a little bit more reticent. What can I say and what can I not say? And the other, I think, challenge is being very deliberate with rewriting culture to go against the grain. And that's a weird one because on one hand, it's being very deliberate about language and saying certain things. Like girls should be able to talk about certain things on the pulpit, guys too. Because traditionally, right, it's like guys can get away with saying anything on the pulpit, but women can only say all the more demure women things, like the more emotional stuff.
Yeah.
But again, in our church is quite flipped because we got guys that are quite like pastoral and girls who are a bit more leaders. So it's flipped a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are still sometimes we ask the guys to say certain things on the pulpit because if the girls say it, it won't be received as well as when the guys say it. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I won't say it's very bad in our church.
Yeah,
like we're no longer, I think we used to be sometimes angry about it. I think the initial stage when we started to become more open about feminism. Then you can see the reaction because we've always been playing the game. Where even for me as a pastor, sometimes I send the guys in to say something to the guys versus I say it. But now we decided, okay, we're not going to pander to that all the time. That means sometimes the girls are going to say, you can see it makes people, both guys and girls in the room, uncomfortable.
Girls also.
Yes, girls also. But I think by now we've offended everybody that can be offended already and they've all gone. Yeah, because I think right now Gen Z is very receptive. They're like, we're all equal.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me this kind of thing. I want to hear it. Now, whether they do or not is a harder question.
Okay, that's another.
But I think it's definitely way easier to preach in our church now to say what we want to say.
And hopefully, maybe in the future with Gen Z.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Oh, I have another question, which is, PC, do you think that simple truth is the hardest to preach?
I had a long answer for this the other day in the recording, but I decided to narrow it down a little bit. I think principles are simple. Certain principles, like especially like things like being a good human being, being kind, being good, being loving.
Yeah.
I think they are actually pretty simple. I think sometimes religion has overcomplicated what it means to be Christian. Because I think Jesus, so to borrow from Paul's canon a little bit, Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus was God, and Jesus was a good human being. Yeah, just to qualify. And I don't think we're called to be Christians. We're called to follow Jesus. So I think all these things are actually very simple, but religion has over-cluttered it with you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You know, it's kind of like God gave us 10 commandments and then we had to turn it into 500, 600 laws in the Bible that now we're still trying to decipher, do or don't do. Yeah, so I think there are simple principles, but I do think outworking is challenging. Because even when you talk about, let's say, being kind, I think there's a gap because sometimes we all define kindness differently, or even let's say social justice maybe is more complicated. We define social justice differently. And we end up, I think, sometimes judging each other because we are coming from a different lens and definition of that same principle. Yeah. But I think the other gap that exists is I think people can talk a good game, but whether you actually do it in your life is a whole other story. Whether you're actually kind, whether you're actually living out goodness, whether you're actually... Yeah, everybody knows, right? For example, if I say all leaders have to be learners, yeah, everybody goes, yes, amen. Yeah. But to actually do it in your life and to have a habit of doing it in your life, have a habit of kindness, all this stuff, I think is a little bit harder lah. It takes effort. Not automatic.
Yeah. Don't you feel like Christians are funny sometimes in the sense that we overcomplicate things or we become too simplistic?
Yes.
Right? Like there isn't that nuance of what Jesus really means when he says love somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of tensions at work. Yeah, because I think sometimes in order to bring a simple truth deeper, you have to go through a process of deconstruction, which is the complicated nuance part. What does the Bible really mean when it says this? What does it look like in real life? Does the science bear out that this works? And then when you start going in the deconstruction direction, then that's where it becomes more complicated. But then I think you also make a U-turn back to simplicity once you understand something deeper. So I feel like it's always a constant cycle. You need to complicate the truth in order to simplify it again.
Yeah.
But it's never circular, it's deeper. Yeah, and I think that's the difference.
Wow. Yes.
Is that helpful?
Yes,
You've been asking this question a lot of times. Every podcast it comes up. So what is simple and what is nuance? And when I teach it, what happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so PC, what would you say makes a good message then?
Okay, so let's get back to basics now, right, guys? So I think communication at the end of the day, there are some basic important building blocks. So that's what we're going to cover today. We're not going to cover our preaching 101 class with you, but we're going to give you the building blocks. The first one, I think, is clarity is very important. You must be able to be clear. Whether you're teaching a difficult class in church, like, I don't know, interpretive tools, you must be able to have clarity. It doesn't mean simplistic. But at the same time, sometimes messages do need to be simple and be to the point. So the issue is clarity and making sure that someone can understand what you are saying. Okay? I think that's the first building block. The second building block, I would say, is you need to be captivating to be a good communicator. And that means sometimes being creative, being able to say things from a different angle, being able to captivate an audience creatively by how you phrase something. Or you see, because the truth of the matter is so back to the simple truth thing, right? There is nothing new under the sun, to quote Solomon or whoever wrote Ecclesiastes. Okay, we don't know who. There's nothing new under the sun. I think we're just new in the way we say something. We bring fresh insight. That is what wisdom is. It's not necessarily that you're being very, very hyper original. So I think you must be creative, you must be captivating. There's nothing worse than a boring leader or boring manager or boring boss. It's like boring. Yeah, and then the third thing I think is connection. And by this I don't mean just mere relevancy, I mean relatability. Because I think this is the thing, right? I think people sometimes, especially young preachers, confuse the two. And they think being relevant, right, is simply being able to say what's the latest thing in pop culture. Like if I can throw in Squid Game right now into a sermon, then everybody's gonna like, yeah. I mean, yes, they'll give you a quick connection. It'll make an icebreaker. So it's good for an icebreaker.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I look for in preachers is, can you sustain a connection with the congregation? That has to do with relatability. That has to do more with authenticity than your knowledge of pop culture. You know, your ability to bring a truth back to them and how it applies to their life. Your ability to share yourself and bring whatever you're preaching. Because sometimes as leaders in church, we don't have a choice on what we get to preach on the pulpit. Because sometimes people need a certain thing or it's curriculum. But how do you bring your own message and your own authenticity to that whatever that you're saying? That connects and transforms a life and challenges a life. So that to me is a defining difference versus just coloring out and making people laugh, because that will fade. And then do they change? Do they change the way they live life? That's the thing that concerns me. Yeah.
So is there a gap between prepping a message and delivering a message?
Oh yeah. I guess if you want to be pragmatic about it, I mean, you first off have to have a good script. A good outline, a good script. I'm a very traditional creative writer mindset, which is if the bones are bad, like no amount of smoking is going to make a bad script good. In fact, sometimes the more you smoke, the more obvious it becomes how bad the actual content is. Yeah, so all this stuff that goes in script, I guess it boils down to like, have you been learning and have something to input? And then also you have to learn how to structure good communication on a script. And that can look different for different people. So you gotta get the bones right. Then deliver is his own thing, which is like, can you look our audience in the eye, how you move on stage, how you vary your tone and intonation, how you tell a story, which she is a masterful storyteller, I have to say. Then that is the delivery portion. Yeah, so I think, well, maybe we should talk about some of our preachers right now, right?
We can, yeah.
I find so far with my experience with training preachers, a lot of us tend to be strong in one and weak in the other, or have different issues with both. But very few people are strong at both.
True.
Yeah. I would say you and I excel at the writing.
Am I?
It just creates a lot of anxiety because we're very well prepped. We really prepare great messages. We don't smoke. Yeah. But I also think we're natural delivery people. So sometimes we tend to spend more time on this than this, which actually I was telling you recently. I think the two of us have to start shifting to preparing this more than this. Because our content is great. We need to find a way to make sure as much of it gets to the people as possible.
Because basically we're having this convo of like, do you think preparing a message is harder or delivering a message is harder? And I was thinking like, preparing a message, being able to get the content in, being able to structure your thoughts, being able to have insights to what you're reading and retain them is way harder than, say, training to deliver. I don't know.
I don't have a lean either one, but maybe that's because you're a very gifted speaker. I mean, you just stand still on the stage and everybody is captivated by you.
Yeah, but I find the moving, okay, yeah.
But I don't think moving means you're a good preacher.
Okay, yes.
Right? Because I think it is about presence. And everybody has a different kind of presence. So actually, that's the interesting thing we've realized also, right? Different preachers, we've been telling them to play around with different mics recently.
Yeah, true.
Because some of them, they do better with a handheld. Some of them do better with iPad. Some do better with a phone and some don't. Yeah, and it affects the movement. But I do think we have to get to a point where our preachers they excel at certain strengths with script writing, but they can handle any kind of script. And they excel at a certain kind of speaking, a certain kind of message and delivery, but they can do all if possible. Yeah, but yes, definitely I want them to specialize eventually. But you see, I think the thing is, in our church, we're not training speakers per se, we're training leaders. And I mean, really at the end of the day, nobody can kind of, like, very few people in life, right, can be a speaker 24/7. But even then, you can't be a great speaker if you have no content. So I think what I am doing is training leaders, people who can structure their thoughts and communicate effectively and write up a script or plan it however they plan it, and people who can deliver and captivate, whether it's a small room or a big room. Yeah.
So back to Pastor, just now you were saying that very seldom people are good with both, right?
Yeah.
Like the content and then the
or either way, they
delivery.
always have strengths and weaknesses in both arenas. Yeah, I have strengths and weaknesses for sure. You have strengths and weaknesses. You would say you're too still. I would say if I don't have space to move, I have a problem sometimes because I start to force my vocal to hold because I'm a mover. My rhythm on stage creates my rhythm in the script. Yeah.
But some of them are really good with moving on stage, like say Regina, Raymond.
Yeah, and I think that's got to do because they're dancers. And musicians.
Graceful.
Yeah. They just have and it's not even like they're running all around the stage, you know. Like Regina's quite still actually, but she just has a way of moving her arms and her movement matches her thought.
Yes.
But some speakers, the movement don't match the thought. You see them like, don't move your arms. I want to like tape them down. Yeah. I mean, one time I think I wanted to tape Zihan to the stage. Like, I wanted to like masking tape his feet to the floor. But now he doesn't move very much already. Age.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So moving on is PC, what do we do when we say have a writer's block when it comes to message writing?
Oh, go to sleep. Watch some TV. Creatively procrastinate.
Creative procrastination.
Yeah. No, we both do the same thing, right?
Yeah, I do that too.
You said I taught you that when you were younger, hi?
Yes, because I remember PC, I was very stuck with writing a particular message. I can't remember how many years ago was that. Then I was very stuck. And then because Pasi will ask me, how is it going? And I say, I'm stuck with this idea. I cannot structure it out. And then PC told me, say, go and watch a TV or something. And then come back after 2 hours. You will be able to do it.
Yeah. So for me, I really, when I said earlier, I don't normally now go past 2 a.m. But that's because I know the rhythms of my mind and my process already. So I know when I'm stuck, but I hit a certain point, right, it's time to just go to sleep. And usually I just think about the problem, I go to bed, and I wake up with the solution. And I was telling you, right, in my groggy state, I must immediately have my phone there and write down everything, even when I go to the toilet, because the moment I wake up, I might forget. So I have to write it down. But the being of happiness is different. I was saying, like, because I hit 2 a.m. and I knew that it wasn't there yet. And if I didn't push through, it wouldn't get there by the next day. So you have to know yourself, lah. But yes, there is such a thing as creative procrastination. Yeah, just make sure you're not really procrastinating. Procrastinating is when you really just don't bother with the thing and you're just fully lazy and fully running away from the thing. That's not creative procrastination.
That's just laziness.
Yeah, so normally I'll watch a TV show that maybe it's not my favorite TV show where I'm fully absorbed. It cannot be something I'm paying attention to. So sometimes literally I'll watch a TV show and my mind is still cranking. And then I have to do a lot of rewinding. Hey, what did they say? Because my mind's actually solving the problem. Yeah. Yeah, so that is okay too.
Yeah.
But I think every leader got to learn to control their anxiety lah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it really makes it far worse. Then later when you look back, you go like, why was I so fritzing over there? Like, it was okay.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
I think maybe PC like the sleeping and go to take a break is really just to kind of stop
reset the mind.
Yeah. Stop your anxiety cycle and looping in your head.
Yeah.
And then you actually think better and clearer. Yeah.
The other thing I used to do was go running. So
running
long ago,
too.
I would run at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, running helps too.
And then I'll come back and continue preparing sermon. But I cannot do that anymore because running keeps me awake. So my body with age, right, my body cannot do that anymore lah. Yeah.
moving on to talking about mentoring, right?
Yes.
PC, I'm very curious. How do we, because I've been editing and working with all the different ones of them in a team, right? How do we like
The frustration on your face,
no,
right?
no,
You're
no,
like,
no, please. Then the whole team will be
Okay.
like, what? No, it's a joy to work with.
Yes.
It's just, I guess for me, is being able to figure out how to better effectively identify the strength of individual ones of them. I think I don't as quickly being able to point out, like say, oh, you're great at this, or maybe let's develop this, let's focus on that. I'm not as, I guess, sharp with it. Yeah, so how do we go about doing that? Spotting strengths.
Do you want to give me an example? Because I don't feel that you are bad at spotting strengths and weaknesses and what to change up with them.
Like, for example, I know that, for example, one of the things PC told Zihan was he is really good with curriculum. Yeah, so if if you give him a structure, then he's able to preach it very well and elaborate on it. I mean, as a start, I wouldn't be able to see that. I would just go,
really?
You need to just structure. You just need to structure. You just need to structure it out.
Okay. So with regards to Zihan, right? Let me make you feel better. I mean, you remember early days when I was training you all the first batch, right?
Yeah.
That I would get very frustrated with him. Zihan, I love you. But we're just going to use you as an example. But I used to remember get very frustrated with him because we'll come into a class and then he comes in with a certain sermon. Then I'll tell him to edit certain things, right, in the sermon.
Yeah.
And he will come back the next lesson and give me a completely different sermon.
Yes.
And I used to get so angry. I'm like, Zihan, just stick to the what you have and improve it. Don't give me a new idea. Because that is one of his gifts, right? He's got a fireworks brain.
Yes.
He just has multiple ideas all at once. And for him, the problem is trying to boil down what's the one thing he needs to say. Yeah, so initially I used to get very angry and very frustrated. But if you discipline yourself, I think as a leader, to just constantly remind yourself to, despite all your frustrations, and mentoring is a frustrating process, like to just find a way to look at people and go, what is the goal within, buried inside? What's the diamond in the rough? And you will start to see clues. So, for example, right, he is very funny. When he tells a story, it just connects with people. He can say challenging things to people's character and heart and spirit, confrontational things, and he can say in a way that people can get it and catch on to it and latch on to it. I mean, when he is doing altar call, he is the most amazing. I'm like, so I know he's capable of structure, right? Because when he gets into a flow, right, during altar call, it's like whoosh, the presence of God is here, and then his thoughts are like bam, 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 bam. And then, even the young adults will come out and say, I remember like Brian saying, no, what's when he does altar call, just something in my heart, like, and then you're like, whoa. So in there lies these golden moments, you see. So if you can find a way to separate the frustration, you can find the goal. And then the next step becomes, okay, how can I take that and uncover that and find a strategy that works to make that thing shine? And then that's when I realized, right, I started observing him over time. He takes ministry training, right? Every time he does a ministry training class or curriculum, it is always fresh and exciting. People are engaged.
Yeah.
For me, it takes effort. For him, it's effortless. And that's where his money is. So again, right, we're not strong in everything, and every leader and every communicator needs to accept that about yourself. So it is okay that he needs the team to help him filter his thoughts sometimes. But the moment you give him a skeleton, give him a skeleton that allows him to go wherever he wants to go, but come back to that skeleton, you're good to go already. And then he's great, or he's fantastic, or the only tricky thing is, so let me tell you the complication is, for some of our preachers, right, English is not very strong. Now,
English?
Okay, but anyway, my policy is that I don't think you need good English to be a great communicator or leader. You just need to find a way to be clear. But there is a balancing act to strike, because when you're here on the pulpit, right, I have to figure out how do I get them to a level of English that is good enough that everyone can understand them in the room. It's clear enough. Because have you ever realized this? Even if you yourself as audience member don't have good English, right, you need the other person to communicate in some standardized way that at least you can follow. You get what I mean? Not complicated, but there is a need. So the question is how to get them to that level. So with Zihan is a strange tension right now, because I make him write a very extensive script because I'm trying to train him to communicate clearly with his English. But the goal should be at some point to remove those things so that he can just go on the go. He can just fly with whatever he wants to say. So we're in that tension right now and trying to figure out how to get there, lor. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's become the main case study. Any other case studies?
Oh, another one would be like PC, maybe like Raymond. So PC, like when I see you edit his message, right, I find it very fascinating that you know what he wants to say. So like when you edit and I ask him, so is this what you're trying to say? He's like, yeah, that's what I want to say. I was like, wow, I don't know what you wanted to say at all.
But I told you that one's got to do with I'm the mentor lah. And I've been mentoring y'all for so long. I'm the objective eye in your life. I don't know. There are some things only you know about yourself. But I've seen y'all grow up. It's kind of that thing of like God has an objective eye on our life. The same thing, I think that's what mentors do, right? We see you and we're a few steps ahead. So we kind of know where you're headed. And we know you a little bit better. Yeah. But I think the other factor, like what I said to you, is so I've got that on top of you, which is like I'm a few steps ahead of you as a leader and experience with mentoring. But I think the second thing is I'm also a creative writer by trade. So my specialty is writing dialogue. And dialogue requires me to build a world, create a character, know a character deeply, their emotional state, their cognitive way of thinking, their journey, in order to write great dialogue. That's what goes into great dialogue. And so it's kind of the same thing when I'm helping to edit the preacher's scripts, right? I'm always trying to think, how do I, again, it's attention lah. How do I make sure that they're clear? So I need to give them a little bit of good English lessons through the process. But how do I bring out their voice?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, like I said.
Yeah,
so some weeks I can do it, I have time. But some weeks I don't. Then I kind of just I script the flow of the thought first. Then you go through and write it in your own words. Yeah. So I think that is part of the reason lah.
Yeah, I think the bringing out the voice part is so like a little challenging because like even if it's clear, I keep thinking, how do I edit in a way that it is something that they want to communicate
and how would they
want to do it, and also what is their message, so that I be careful it's not my voice but it's their voice. I think that's really,
it's kind of like being a ghostwriter, isn't it? Like you got to know your client really, really well. Yeah, but again, right, you see, I have certain strengths. So unfortunately, there's always, not unfortunately, there's always a synergy going on. So when I go in and edit someone, it's always going to be clearer. It's always going to be more logical and flow. I find it easier to edit some of them more than others. So for example, Christine had that someone recently, like, which role are you on? I found that very difficult. I asked Kay to do it because Kay has that same flow of like storytelling and thought for thought. So you found that easy to edit, right? So I found that really hard. Really hard. And I was trying very hard not to impose my structured way of laying something out on her. So I did halfway and then I sent the rest over to you to finish off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that lah. It's a balancing act lah.
But another thing is PC also know what they need in order to excel. Like for example, like Regina's message, right? You knew like the main thing was she needed to, for example, like she need the key to engaging with the audience is that she needs a joke or a story at the start. Then everything else will settle and that'll be fine. Like you knew the one thing that people need to.
Yeah, but I think you see that is okay. So I learned this recently, right? You know, empathy has 3 different kinds of empathy. I cannot remember what one of them was, but there's emotional empathy, Oh, no. There's emotional empathy, there's cognitive empathy, and there's compassion empathy.
Oh, compassion.
Yeah,
empathy.
so the one that we keep railing on about, I think, has to do with compassion in social justice.
It's a feeling.
The one that we've been trying to get people to know is the walk in another person's shoes and learn to listen well.
Okay.
Like it's a practice.
Yeah.
But I think when I heard that definition, right, I realized that I score very high on cognitive empathy. That means I know how to automatically anticipate most of the time, not all the time, not with complete certainty, but I know how people think. So I know what they need in order to warm up. I know what they need to get to that next flow of thought. I know where I want them to go in terms of a reflection, like church intro class recently, right? There was that bill where I was trying to talk to them about, like, I mean, it's very nice to throw a punchline and say, like, this is a community, not a club.
Yep.
You know, this place is not customer service, even though we serve you with all our heart.
Yep.
But to build them to that place where they understand what I'm saying about that, right? There require to be quite a lot of stuff if you listen to that message very clearly, right? Like a story and a thought and a challenge to that thought, and then it built all the way to the end where it went back to that one thing. Yeah, so when I edit someone's message, I think of that, like how's the audience going to get it? What's their thought going to be like at this point? What's their feeling going to be like at this point? And what are they going to need here for clarity and for change? So that's how I approach it lah. Yeah.
Oh, that's new. I didn't know that. The 3 empathy.
But you are doing that when you write your thought flow.
Oh,
you're leading them on a journey to get to a certain feeling. Well, I'm kind of doing the same thing. It's just that the way we do it is different in our process. I do it quite logically. You do it quite instinctually, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But the rest of it is still mentoring lah. Like I was telling you, Regina is someone that right now we need to be hands off with. Because she knows all the fundamentals of good preaching. She knows how to speak well. She knows how to move well.
Yes.
So right now, she just really needs to push boundaries with content. And sometimes it's a hit and miss. Like she had one sermon recently where she felt like she tried to cram too many. Okay, but that was another thing. Like, see, this is the anxiety thing. All the preachers, y'all need to control your anxiety. So the third round of preaching, right, in our church, no, second round. The third round was okay. The second round, right, it came off me preaching productive justice and last equality and feminism.
Yes.
So after that, suddenly, right, the preachers were sending me and Kay, right, like 30-page long, like, research and content. They were like, how are you going to say that? Usually, like, you can only have 12 to 15 pages maximum. And then they're like just one whole massive. And then, so at the end of it, when I was evaluating, because I do a big evaluation at the end of every round, right? And I go, what were y'all thinking? And then they were like, oh, like, Pastor, you preach such, like, heady, like strong teaching and content messages, or science thrown in, theology thrown in, and so we felt that we've got to keep up. But that's not you, that's me. I'm a heady preacher. You are not. You don't need to be me, just be you.
Yes.
Yeah, so then it toned down the next time. After that, everyone was a bit more themselves.
I find it so funny because Zian has like a few drafts of ideas. Draft 1, draft 2. Just ideas only, not even the message yet.
Yeah, but maybe it's time to ban him already. You cannot send us your 30-page long thing. You need to decide which are the most important ideas and send those.
Yes.
Yeah. So Regina is at stage right now where she should push boundaries content. She should make mistakes and then learn from it. She's also at a stage where she should just try her own style out and make mistakes and learn. It's no longer helpful for her, at least for this period, to come back to us for affirmation, because she needs to develop bravery with her own style. Yeah, then once she finds that, then it'll be maybe another round of mentoring to pull out the greatness, to get her from good to great. Yeah. Frankly, I need that too right now. If I could have my way, I would hire an acting teacher, a speaking teacher, a director who knows how to pick out what my strengths are and help it to flourish. But I don't have that luxury yet.
Yet.
Let's see how far I'm willing to go. Yeah.
Yes. PC, last question is for everyone that's listening is, so how do we communicate well then?
I would say go back to the 3 things we just said. Of course, if you want to learn more, you will learn more lah, because in TiVo, we afford people so much opportunity to learn leadership and communication, because we feel communication isn't reserved for a preacher or pastor. It's everybody. A parent communicating to their kid, a manager leading a team, friendship, influence. Yeah, it all comes back to that law.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader, you should be a communicator. So I would say go back to the 3 things. Learn how to be a great learner with your content. I feel like, so that you can be clear, so that you have something to give.
And also you're responsible when you're delivering a message.
Yeah, because guys, there are too many irresponsible creatures, too many irresponsible social media influencers out there who are mediocre. But because they can ham it up, because they're funny. And I feel it's very damaging sometimes. Especially because we haven't figured out yet how to distinguish like what is just fun versus what is a good influence. If you can distinguish that, then I go, watch whatever you want. But I think that's the problem now. So I think content and clarity is very important. I think too, the connection and creativity component.
Yeah.
Sorry, not connection, captivating.
Captivate.
You must learn how to cause people to want to hear you. You must be someone that doesn't waste people's time with how you communicate.
Yeah, but PC also, that's it, right? The way everyone captivates is different, right?
Yes.
Your strengths may be different from someone else's. It's not you can learn and emulate from people, but not you can be a different you in a way that you
like be yourself, then be your best self.
Yeah.
Because if yourself is too boring, then learn the skill of being a bit more interesting.
Yes.
I don't need you to be like Zihan, who is like such a sparky personality. But you must find a way to be yourself, but your best self in a way that people are drawn in.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So yes, I do think find yourself. I think life becomes easier when you find yourself. Then the next thing is connection. No. Yeah. Go for relatability instead of being the quick laugh. Yeah. But maybe at workplace also it's a little bit different. So if you're pitching somebody, I would imagine you must know your target audience.
Yeah.
And what they need from you and what they want from you, and how to synchronize with what they need versus what you want to be as a communicator lah. Yeah, so there's that balance, because like it or not, I think excellence is meeting expectations and surpassing it. And that's how you surpass. I think when you make connection instead of just being funny, when you are creative instead of just I'm just gonna be myself even if it doesn't work. Yeah, it's that little bit extra, right? That tips you over into excellence. You meet and you surpass people's expectations as a communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yes, that's the great place to land.
Okay, cool.
To end.
So like, share.
Yes.
Give us a rating if you can. That helps us.
Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah. And we'll see you at the next episode.
Yeah. Bye.